So I want to see which glue will work best for gluing wood to this laminated MDF. I'm going to try PVA, CA glue, UHU and 5-minute epoxy. I'll let them all properly cure for 24 hours and then we'll test them to see which ones work. First the PVA glue, then the CA glue, now the UHU, and lastly the 5-minute epoxy. The 5-minute epoxy wasn't coming out and then suddenly it released and it came out in torrents. What a mess. These have now had 24 hours to cure. Now this isn't going to be very technical, so the results will only be, I guess, a little bit subjective or empirical. I'm going to try pulling them off using my fingers, and if that doesn't work then I'll resort to using a hammer and other things and just try and get a feel for which of these glues is holding on the best. I'll start with the PVA. Well, the CA didn't hold at all. It came off just me putting the heel of my hand on it when I was trying to remove the PVA glued piece of wood. The PVA seems to have done a tremendous job. I can't remove it by hand. I'll come back to it after I've tried removing the other two by hand. Now for the UHU. And I can't remove the UHU either. And now the 5-minute epoxy. That's not going anywhere. So I'm now going to try a sharp shock using a tack hammer. I'll start with the PVA, then the UHU, and then the 5-minute epoxy. I'll now try with a heavier claw hammer. Whilst a third of the piece has been left behind, all this part, the epoxy is still on the wood and it's come away from the board. So the 5-minute epoxy doesn't seem to be as strong as the PVA and the UHU. But I guess there's a possibility that it was easier to take the epoxy off because of where it was positioned on the vise. So I'm now going to reposition the piece and just try to get the others off with the same amount of force. So I'm going to start with the UHU one just because it's easier positioned, and give it a good old whack with a hammer. And that has come free. Now you can see with the UHU all of the glue has been left on the wood and the adhesion has failed on the laminate. I would say that was probably as good as the 5-minute epoxy. Now finally the PVA, and I'm going to give this a good whack. Well, the same here with this one. It's the glue is still on the wood and it's not adhered to the laminate board, but I would say that whilst that's the case, this was a lot harder to get off than the other two, so I'm glad actually. I'm quite surprised, but it looks like the PVA does win. I think if I want to make it stronger, then I need to perhaps try and score or find a way of getting more adhesion to that laminate. Well, I hope you found this interesting. This isn't a purely academic exercise. I do have a video coming out next week where I will be using a couple of doors like this, and I need to be able to glue wood to them. So if you're interested in that, then remember to subscribe, and if you've enjoyed this video then please leave a thumbs up. If you've got any questions about this experiment then please leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.